Welcome to the Quickpro camera guide for the Olympus PM1. This is a great camera that will capture amazing images as well as HD video. We hope you'll enjoy learning more about it in this video. This guide is meant to be a study tool to be used in connection with and not a replacement of your camera's owner's manual. You can watch it entirely in one sitting or by chapter. The functions and features of the PM1 that we cover are designed to give you a solid working knowledge of your camera. Our goal is to not only explain how to adjust the settings on your camera, but also help you understand when and why you would be motivated to take creative control of your camera. It's really not possible to cover every configuration on your camera, but we will provide you a very solid foundation to build your digital photography skills on. With this new information, you'll be able to improve your ability to capture great pictures in a variety of shooting settings. The PM1 has an impressive 12.3 megapixel image sensor, a large high-resolution 3-inch LCD monitor, creative controls and filters, a new fast AF autofocus system, an attachable flash unit, image stabilization in the camera body, and many other great features and functions that we'll discuss in this guide. Let's get started. Your PM1 has sophisticated buttons and dials, and to take the best pictures with your camera, you'll want to be familiar with the functions of each of them. Let's begin by taking a closer look at many of the camera's features. Let's start with the top of the camera body. Note that we'll provide a brief overview of the buttons and features in this chapter. We'll discuss many of the camera's buttons and features in depth later in this guide. First, there is the on-off button. Next, there is the shutter release button. To take a picture, simply press and hold the shutter button halfway down for a moment to allow the camera to focus. You'll see a green focus indicator appear on the screen over the area of the image that will be in focus. Now simply press the shutter button the rest of the way down to take the picture. This is the hot shoe, where you can attach the supplied flash unit or other accessories to the camera. Note that unless the flash or accessory is attached to the hot shoe, it's a good idea to keep the hot shoe cover on the camera. These small indentations are the camera's stereo microphone, which is used to record sound in movie recording. You'll want to take care not to cover the microphone when recording movies. This is a speaker, which will play sound during movie playback. Now let's take a look at the back of the camera. The most prominent feature is the 3-inch LCD monitor. This screen serves several purposes. First, it displays a full-time live view of the scene. Second, it displays the images that have been taken. Using the control dial, you can scroll through the images on the memory card. Third, this screen provides fast and easy access to important shooting settings. And finally, the screen displays the camera's menu system, where you can change many important settings in the camera. In the camera's art filter and advanced shooting modes, the LCD monitor also provides access to the live control, where you can adjust many camera settings. Note that depending on the shooting mode, different settings might be displayed. We'll be showing the live control with the camera set to P, or program mode. Let's discuss an overview of the live control now. Many of the settings in the live control will be discussed in greater detail later in this guide. To access the live control, press the OK button. The first option is image stabilization, where you can select the type of image stabilization you'd like. Next, there is the picture mode art filter option, where you can apply different color tones and creative effects to your photos. The white balance setting, the release mode, the aspect ratio, the image size, the movie recording size, the flash mode, the flash compensation, the metering mode, the autofocus mode, and the ISO setting. The next option is the face and eye priority setting. Let's discuss face and eye priority now. When activated, the face and eye priority feature will detect faces and eyes and automatically focus on them. There are 5 different options for this feature. You can choose to have face and eye priority off, face priority only, face and eye priority with focus on the right eye, and face and eye priority with focus on the left eye. The last option in the live control is the movie sound recording option, where you can enable or disable the camera's microphone during movie recording. Here is the movie button. To record a movie, simply press the shutter halfway down to focus, and then press the movie button to begin recording. Press the movie button again to end recording. This is the info or information display button. Pressing this button will change the information that is displayed on the camera's LCD monitor in both the shooting mode and in image playback. This is the arrow pad and control dial. Rotating the control dial will allow you to navigate through various camera settings, as well as make adjustments to exposure. The arrow pad with the top, bottom, left, and right buttons will also allow you to make adjustments to many shooting settings. The top, bottom, and sides of the arrow pad also have additional specific functions. The left arrow has two functions. First, it serves as an autofocus target button, which allows you to choose the area of the frame you'd like to be in focus. It also serves as the image index button in playback mode. The top arrow button serves as the exposure compensation button in the camera's P, A, S, and Art filter shooting modes. To use exposure compensation in one of these modes, simply press the exposure compensation button and use the sides of the arrow pad to make adjustments to the overall brightness of the image. When the indicator is toward the plus side of the scale, the image will be brighter. When the indicator is toward the minus side of the scale, the image will be darker. When you're finished taking pictures with exposure compensation, you'll want to set the indicator back at 0. The right arrow serves as the flash button in certain shooting modes and the playback zoom in button in image playback. The bottom arrow button is the sequential shooting self-timer button, which provides access to the camera's release modes. Let's take a look at these options now. Note that these options are not available in all shooting modes. The first option is single frame shooting. With this mode selected, one picture will be taken each time the shutter button is pressed. Next, there is the sequential high speed option. With this mode selected, the camera will take continuous pictures at up to 5 frames per second while the shutter button is pressed down. The sequential low speed option will continuously take pictures at up to 3 frames per second when the shutter button is pressed down. There are also two self-timer options, 12 seconds and 2 seconds. Use these modes when you'd like to include yourself in the picture. At the center of the control dial arrow pad is the OK button, which allows you to confirm camera settings. This is the menu button. Pressing this button will allow you to access the camera's intuitive menu system. This is the top menu where you can change the camera's shooting mode, as well as making adjustments to camera settings in the setup menu. The PM1 has several art modes to apply creative effects and an impressive eye auto mode, which makes all the necessary adjustments for you, a variety of scene modes to help you get great shots in specific shooting scenarios, a movie mode, and advanced shooting modes for when you want to take more creative control of your camera. You can also access the camera's setup options to make adjustments to a variety of camera settings. This is the playback button, which displays the images that have been taken on the LCD monitor. In playback mode, you can rotate the control dial to scroll through the images on the memory card. If you find one you'd like to erase, press the OK button, scroll to erase, press OK, select Yes, and press OK. Note that once an image is erased, it cannot be recovered. On this side of the camera, you'll find the connector cover. Using these connectors, you can connect the camera to other devices. With your Olympus pen camera, you have the ability to use a variety of different lenses. To mount or install a lens, make sure that the camera is off. Hold the camera with one hand and the lens with the other, like this. Align the lens's index with the camera's index, and then turn the lens gently until it clicks into place. Take great care not to scratch the lens by allowing it to make contact with anything. When you need to clean your lens, it's a good idea to use a lens cloth. Other fabrics can dull or scratch your lens. When you want to dismount a lens, press the lens release button while holding the camera with the same hand. Then with the other hand, rotate the lens until it uncouples. Avoid changing lenses in windy or dusty conditions. This will help the image sensor stay clean and free of dust. Note that some lenses for Olympus pen cameras have an unlock switch. This means that the lens must be extended before picture taking. To extend the lens, simply rotate the zoom ring. To retract the lens when you're finished taking pictures, slide and hold the unlock switch forward and rotate the lens in the direction of the arrow. On the bottom of the camera, we'll find the battery and SD memory card compartment cover, as well as a tripod socket. When you're inserting a memory card, you'll want to make sure that the manufacturer's logo is facing the front of the camera. Simply insert the card until it clicks into place and close the card slot cover. Before you start taking pictures with a new memory card, it's a good idea to format it. Also keep in mind that your camera will operate faster if you periodically reformat your memory card, rather than simply deleting images from it to free up space for more picture taking. Make sure that you don't reformat your card unless you've already copied the images that you want to save to your computer. Reformatting your card will erase all the images. To format the SD memory card, press the menu button, scroll to Setup, and press the OK button. Here, the first option in the first shooting menu is Card Setup. Now the camera will ask you if you'd like to format the memory card. Select Yes and press OK. Your Olympus PM1 can record image files in two different file types, RAW and JPEG. Both file types have benefits and drawbacks to consider. Let's talk a little about these two image file types. There are several important things to know about RAW files. First, they are not actually image files. They're actually the raw data saved to the memory card directly from the image sensor. Next, RAW files are uncompressed, meaning that the file sizes are considerably larger than those of compressed files. RAW files have a much broader range of tones. Shadow and highlight areas have more detail than JPEG files. Also, you can make extensive edits to a RAW file without losing data or image quality. And finally, RAW files appear flatter with less color and contrast and must be processed on the computer before they're printed. JPEG files, however, are very different from RAW files. JPEG files are a standard image file format that can be read by any image software. They are compressed, which means that not all of the image data is actually saved. Because they're compressed, JPEGs are much smaller in file size. JPEGs have a more narrow range of shadows and highlights and will lose some image data each time they're edited. Finally, JPEG files are processed by your camera and are able to be reprinted directly from the memory card. Because JPEG images require less time when editing on the computer, I use a high-quality JPEG setting for everyday picture taking and snapshots. If I know ahead of time that I'm going to be extensively editing my images, I'll choose the RAW plus JPEG format. With its new high-resolution image sensor, your camera is capable of recording professional quality images. Let's take a look at how to choose the image quality settings on the PM1. First, we'll press the menu button, navigate to the Setup menu, and press OK to view the options. Here, we'll make sure we're in the first shooting menu and navigate to the image quality icon. The first menu item in the image quality settings is Still Picture. Press the right arrow button to view the Still Picture image quality options. The first option is RAW. When this option is selected, the camera will record one RAW file each time the shutter button is pressed. The next four options are JPEG settings. The image size, or how many megapixels the camera will use to record the image, is indicated by the first letter, and the compression rate is indicated by the second letter. First, there is Large, Fine JPEG. When this setting is selected, the camera will record JPEG images at the camera's highest resolution with very little compression. The Large Normal setting records images at higher resolution with moderate compression. The large JPEG settings are great for making high-quality prints of your images. The Middle Normal settings record JPEGs at a medium-sized resolution with moderate compression. And the Small Normal setting records images at low resolution with moderate compression. The Small JPEG setting is good to use if you know that you'll only be using the images for posting online or email. The last four options are the RAW plus JPEG options. When any of these options are selected, the camera will record one RAW file as well as one JPEG file each time a picture is taken. First, there is the Large Fine JPEG plus RAW. Next, there is the Large Normal JPEG plus RAW, the Medium Normal JPEG plus RAW, and lastly, the Small Normal JPEG plus RAW. Now that we've discussed image quality and file types, let's talk a little about how to archive and back up these files for future use and safekeeping. It's important to always have your files saved in at least two different locations. There are many ways you can back up your files, and we'll discuss a few of them here, including CDs and DVDs, external and redundant hard drive systems, and online backup services. Regardless of which methods of backup you choose, you'll want to have a regular system for backing up your files. It's a good idea to create backups at the same time as you download the files from the camera's memory card for post-processing. Remember to create backups in 2 different locations in addition to your regular working hard drive. You'll also want to create backups of your processed images at set times each day, week, or month, depending on how frequently you are updating or adding to files on your computer. The most affordable way to create a backup of your files is to burn them to CDs or DVDs. It's always a good idea to make multiple copies of each CD or DVD, as well as have at least one additional backup method. There are a few things to know about using CDs or DVDs to archive your images. Although the topic is debatable, our research found that many low-quality writable CDs or DVDs have an average lifespan of about 15 years when properly stored and cared for. If you choose to use these discs, you'll want to make sure that you not only have multiple backups of each disc, but you'll also want to periodically check the discs for signs of deterioration or discoloration. There are several companies that use gold and silver in the manufacture of their discs to ensure the archival quality. These discs are more costly than their lower quality counterparts, but they will normally have a lifespan of anywhere from 100 to 300 years. Be sure to look for the manufacturer's guarantee when shopping for silver or gold CDs or DVDs. Although these discs are more archival, you will still want to make sure that you have multiple copies of each disc. Regardless of which types of CDs or DVDs you use to back up your image files, you'll want to follow a few simple rules to help your discs last as long as possible. First, always check the disc to verify that the contents have been successfully recorded before placing it in storage. Always handle the discs with care, using only the outer edges or the center hole. Also, use only non-solvent permanent marker on the disc and only write on the inner hub area. Finally, you'll also want to make sure that the discs are stored upright in jewel cases or in paper sleeves in a cool, dry place. In addition to having a CD or DVD backup of your files, it's also a good idea to have the files saved using another method. External hard drives have become increasingly affordable and are available in a variety of capacities. When you use an external hard drive for backup purposes, you'll want to use a different hard drive for your everyday working use to preserve the integrity of the backup drive. Another option for backing up your image files is a redundant hard drive or RAID system. These systems vary in size, speed, and cost, but can be an effective backup method. Let's discuss how these systems work. Inside this box, there are 4 hard drives. Some systems have 2 hard drives, others have 4 or more. Each of the hard drives can hold the exact same data. This way, when one of the drives fails, the other drive will still have all the data, and the bad drive can easily be replaced and repopulated with the data from the good drive. The system is connected to a computer using a standard USB cable or through a network. Some of these systems are very user-friendly and easy to install. Others may require the assistance of your local computer service technician. Again, it's a good idea to have your files saved using at least one additional method. One other way to keep a backup of your files is through an online backup service. These services vary not only in cost, but in the way that the backups are managed. Most of these services will require that you install a piece of software on your computer. At a set time each day, week, or month, the software will back up your files via the internet to a remote server. One of the advantages of using an online backup service is that in case of a fire or other natural disaster, your files will be safe at an off-site location. Many photographers keep external hard drives, CDs, or DVDs in addition to using an online backup service. Your camera features a variety of shooting modes ranging from fully automatic to completely manual. This gives you amazing flexibility and creative control over your photos. You can adjust the exposure, shutter speed, and depth of field settings on your camera to help capture professional quality images. As you become more familiar with these concepts and principles, you'll improve your ability to capture the best pictures possible. Let's take a look at the different shooting modes that are available on the PM1. We'll press the menu button to view the options. The first item is Art, where you can apply a variety of fun and creative art filters to your images. We'll discuss the creative filters and effects later in this guide. The next item is iAuto. When this mode is selected, the camera will do all the work for you. All you need to do is point and shoot. The incredibly intuitive Eye Auto mode will quickly access a scene and automatically switch to an appropriate scene mode when it recognizes a specific type of shooting scenario. Another great feature of the Eye Auto mode is that you have access to the Live Guide, which will allow you to fine-tune settings like color, brightness, background, blur, and motion. To access the Live Guide within the Eye Auto mode, simply press the OK button. Here, choose an option you'd like to make adjustments to and rotate the control dial to make your desired changes. Then press OK to confirm the changes. Now let's talk about the PM1's wide range of scene modes, which will allow you to easily capture great images regardless of your shooting scenario. Again, we'll press the menu button and navigate to the Scene Mode option to view the different scene modes. First, there is the Portrait mode. This is a great mode to choose for taking photos of people. The next mode, E-Portrait, will record 2 images. The first one will be the standard portrait, and the second one will be a portrait with skin smoothing applied. Next, there is the Landscape mode, which will vividly reproduce blues and greens in your photos. The Landscape plus Portrait mode is great for taking pictures of people with a vivid landscape in the background. Next, there is the Sports mode, which will allow you to capture fast-moving action. The Night Scene mode is great for shooting scenes at night. In this mode, you'll want to be sure to stabilize the camera to avoid blur. The Night Portrait mode should be used in connection with the supplied flash. In the Night Portrait mode, you can capture a picture of a subject in front of scenery. The flash will fire to light the subject, and the shutter will slow to properly expose the scenery. Use the Children mode to capture great candid shots of children at play. The High Key mode will enhance the bright areas of a photo. The Low Key mode will enhance the shadow areas of a photo. The DIS mode indicates digital image stabilization. This mode helps you to reduce blur that you might get while shooting a moving subject, or when the camera moves while taking pictures. Macro mode is great for taking pictures of subjects that are physically close to the lens of the camera, and Nature Macro is great for pictures of small objects. The Candle mode is used for taking pictures under candlelight. Use the Sunset mode to vividly capture the reds and yellows of a sunrise or sunset. The Documents mode allows you to take pictures of documents that have good contrast between the letters on a page and the background. The Panorama mode lets you take a series of pictures that you can combine on your computer to make a single panoramic image. The Fireworks mode uses a slow shutter speed to help you capture fireworks at night. The Beach and Snow mode helps you capture great photos in bright settings like snow and sand. There are also 3 different scene modes that will mimic the effects of different lenses. There is a fisheye effect, the wide-angle effect, and macro. The last scene mode is the 3D photo, which will capture images in 3D for viewing on a compatible 3D television. The next mode available in the camera's menu system is the movie mode. With this mode, you'll have the ability to change a variety of settings for movie recording. We'll discuss the movie mode in greater detail later in this guide. One of the most important concepts in photography is exposure, or the amount of light that falls on the camera's image sensor or film. A properly exposed photo will have good detail in the shadow, midtone, and highlight areas. Photos that are too bright are overexposed, and photos that are too dark are said to be underexposed. There are 5 ways that your EPM1 measures light. These are the camera's metering modes. The camera's metering modes can be changed in the advanced shooting modes only. To access the camera's metering modes, we'll press the menu button and navigate to the Advanced Shooting Modes menu. Here, we'll use the top and bottom arrow buttons to select the P or Program mode and press OK. Now we can press OK again to access the settings in the live control. Here, we'll scroll to the metering mode setting and press the sides of the arrow pad to make our selection. The first metering mode is called Digital ESP Metering. This is an all-around metering mode suited for portraits and even backlit subjects. The camera sets the exposure automatically to suit the scene. This is a good mode to use for many situations, but sometimes when the scene is very bright or very dark, you'll want to use a different metering mode. The center weighted average metering mode is weighted at the center and then averaged for the entire scene. The next mode is spot metering. This is effective when the image has strong contrast between the subject and the background. There are also two unique spot metering options: spot metering highlight control and spot metering shadow control. Highlight control will ensure that bright subjects appear bright in high contrast lighting, and shadow control will ensure dark subjects appear dark in high contrast lighting. Now that you know a little about how your camera sees and measures light to create properly exposed photos, let's talk a little about the advanced shooting modes of the PM1. These modes will allow you to take the most creative control over the camera's settings, like aperture, shutter speed, ISO, white balance, flash, as well as a variety of other settings. Note that we'll learn about these modes, but we won't spend very much time discussing basic photography concepts. If you'd like to learn more about how to use the camera's advanced shooting modes to take amazing photos, you may benefit from Quickpro's Fundamentals series, which covers important elements of photography including exposure, basic lighting, and composition. The advanced shooting modes are available in this section of the camera's menu system and include P or program mode, A or aperture priority, S or shutter priority, and M or manual mode. Let's first discuss the program mode. In this mode, the camera automatically adjusts shutter speed and aperture for optimal exposure. This may seem similar to the iAuto mode, but with the program mode, you have control over the camera's aperture, shutter speed, focus mode, release mode, and many other settings. To operate in this mode, press the menu button and navigate to the advanced shooting modes. Here, select P and press OK. Taking a picture in this mode is simple. Press the shutter button halfway down to focus, and you'll see a green autofocus indicator appear over the area of the image that will be in focus. Now press the shutter button the rest of the way down to take the picture. You may find that the shutter speed is too slow for what you're photographing, or that the aperture does not give you the depth of field that you're looking for. You can change the aperture and shutter speed combination by pressing the top arrow button and rotating the control dial. The next advanced shooting mode is aperture priority. This mode is useful for times when you want to control the depth of field in an image. Depth of field is the term used to describe the distance between the nearest and farthest objects in a scene that appear acceptably sharp in an image. When only a small area of a subject or image is in focus, it is said to have a shallow depth of field. This effect is achieved by using a smaller f-stop number. When everything in both the foreground and background is in focus, an image is said to have a long depth of field. For a long depth of field, choose a large f-stop number. When you're shooting in aperture priority mode, you'll set the aperture and the camera will automatically select the correct shutter speed for proper exposure. To use the camera in aperture priority mode, simply select the A in the camera's menu. Now you can access the aperture setting to make changes by pressing the up arrow button. Here you can press the top and bottom arrow buttons to change the aperture, and you can press the sides of the arrow pad or rotate the control dial to adjust the overall brightness of the image. Now simply press the shutter button halfway down to focus and the rest of the way down to take the picture. The next advanced shooting mode is the shutter priority mode. This mode is useful for times when you want to control motion in a scene, whether it's freezing action or blurring the motion of the subject. In this mode, you'll set the shutter speed and the camera will automatically select the appropriate aperture value for proper exposure. To use the camera in shutter priority mode, simply select the S in the camera's menu. Now you can access the shutter speed setting to make changes by pressing the up arrow button. Here you can press the top and bottom arrow buttons to change the shutter speed. You can press the sides of the arrow pad or rotate the control dial to adjust the overall brightness of the image. Now simply press the shutter button halfway down to focus and the rest of the way down to take the picture. The last advanced shooting mode is M or manual mode. This mode gives you complete control of the camera. In manual mode, you will set both the shutter speed and aperture to create the exposure. To use the camera in manual mode, simply select the M in the camera's menu. To make adjustments to the shutter speed and aperture settings, press the top arrow button. Now you can use the top and bottom arrow buttons to change the shutter speed and the sides of the arrow pad to change the aperture. As you make changes to these settings, you'll want to pay attention to the camera's exposure meter. When the indicator is toward the plus side of the scale, the image will be too bright or overexposed. When the indicator is toward the minus side of the scale, the image will be too dark or underexposed. In addition to aperture and shutter speed, the camera's ISO setting will have a significant impact on whether your images are properly exposed. The ISO setting affects the image sensor's sensitivity to light. The higher the number, the less light that is required to properly expose the image sensor. The PM1 has impressive low light performance with ISO settings available at up to 12,800. You can either have the camera automatically choose the sensitivity or you can set it manually. Here's how to set the ISO on the PM1. First, make sure that the camera is set to one of the advanced shooting modes. Then press the OK button to access the live control. Here, scroll to the ISO settings options and press the left and right arrow buttons to make your selection. Press OK to exit the live control. It's a good idea to set the ISO speed to suit the ambient light setting that you're shooting in. When you increase the ISO speed, a higher number for low light, a fast shutter speed can be used to avoid blurry images. Keep in mind that a higher ISO setting may introduce noise or grain into your images. An ISO setting that is too high for the shooting conditions will make the images lose quality, and you might even start to see particles in your pictures. Experiment with ISO settings to become more familiar with their range and control. The image sensor on your camera is very powerful. It gives you the flexibility to shoot in low light conditions and still get amazing pictures. Here is a guide that will help you have a basic idea of what ISO settings to use in various situations. When you're indoors in full sun, use ISO 100 to 200. In the shade, on an overcast day, or indoors with lots of window light, use ISO 400. ISOs 800 and higher should be used indoors for action shots or in other low light conditions. The PM1 features full-time live view as well as impressive full HD movie recording. Let's take a few moments to learn more about the options that are displayed on the camera's LCD. Note that these settings may vary depending on the shooting mode that you've selected. We'll be showing the icons that are shown when the camera is set to program mode. The information display on is the default display. On the left side of the screen, there is the ISO setting. At the bottom left corner of the screen, you'll see the shooting mode. This is the shutter speed, aperture, and the exposure compensation value. On the bottom right corner of the screen, you'll see the number of still pictures that can be taken with the memory card, and just above that number, you'll see the available time for movie recording. Above that, there is the movie record mode, the still image record mode, the picture mode, and the image stabilizer indicator. At the top of the screen, there is the face priority indicator and movie sound indicator. To view the histogram display, simply press the info button. And to minimize the information that is displayed, press the info button again to see the image-only view. Your PM1 is capable of shooting high-quality HD video. You can record movies in any of the camera's shooting modes by simply pressing the movie record button. When you use the camera's movie shooting mode, you can have the same control over depth of field and overall exposure as you would when you're shooting still images. Also note that when you're using Art Filter, the characteristics of that filter will be applied to your movie. It's helpful to understand a little about movie resolution and movie file formats before you start shooting movies. There are two different movie recording formats to choose from, AVCHD and Motion JPEG. There are 6 different movie recording modes to choose from. The first 2 options are full HD. With these modes, the camera will record full HD movies at 1920 by 1080. The difference between fine and normal is the level of compression. The fine setting will have less compression, a little better image quality, and slightly larger file sizes than the normal setting. Both of these modes are great for viewing on AVCHD devices. The next 2 options are HD Fine and HD Normal. The HD settings will record movies at 1280 by 720. And again, the difference is the level of compression. These are also good modes for viewing on AVCHD devices. The Motion JPEG HD setting will record movies at 1280 by 720 with a lower frame rate and higher compression. The Motion JPEG SD setting will record movies at 640 by 480. Both of the Motion JPEG modes are good for viewing on your computer. Recording a movie with this camera is easy. Simply press the shutter button halfway down to focus, then press the Movie Record button to begin recording, and press it again to stop recording. To refocus during movie recording, press the shutter button halfway down. When shooting movies, use an SD Speed Class 6 memory card or higher. If a slower memory card is used, the movie may not be properly recorded. To view a movie that you recorded, press the playback button. Then press the OK button to view the options. Select Movie Play and press OK. Using the camera's movie record mode, you can change a variety of settings like shooting mode, aperture, shutter speed, ISO, white balance, as well as a variety of other settings. Making changes to these settings is easy. First, make sure that the camera is in the movie recording mode. Now press the OK button to access the live control. Here you can use the arrow pad to make your selections. We'll navigate to the shooting mode and select manual. Now you can make adjustments to the shutter speed and aperture in the same way that we did in still image shooting. Press the top arrow button to make changes and then use the top and bottom of the arrow pad to adjust the shutter speed. Use the sides of the arrow pad to adjust the aperture. If you'd like to create depth of field in your movie files, select the aperture priority or manual mode and choose a small f-stop number. To record sound in the movie mode, the PM1 has a built-in microphone, which will record sound automatically by default. Take care not to cover the microphone during movie recording. If you'd like to turn off sound recording, you can do this through the camera's live control. Simply press OK to enter the live control and sound recording setting. Here you can select either on or off. The Olympus EPM1 has a large LCD monitor where you can review images, adjust menu settings, and access the information display. There are many options available for previewing images. Let's discuss these options now. For basic playback of your images on the camera's LCD monitor, simply press the playback button. Then you can use the control dial to scroll through the images. If you have a large number of images recorded on the SD memory card, you may find that it is faster to find the photos that you'd like to view if you display multiple photos on the screen at once. To do this, simply press the Image Index button, also the left arrow button. Press the Zoom Out button once to display the image index on the LCD monitor. And pressing the Zoom Out button again will show the calendar display, where you can view pictures that were taken on a specific date. In both the image index and calendar display, you can simply press the OK button to view the images full screen. You can also magnify images on the LCD monitor. This is especially useful when you want to check for good focus in detail areas of the photo. Press the Zoom In button, also the right arrow button, once or multiple times to see the desired level of detail in the photo. To scroll to the area of the image that you'd like to view, press the Info button, and then use the arrow pad to scroll to the area of the image that you'd like to view. The EPM1 has a unique quick access menu available in image playback. To view the menu, simply press the OK button. Here you can choose from a variety of options. We'll discuss several of those options now. First, there is JPEG Edit. Let's press the OK button to view those options. Here you can apply a variety of different edits to images right in camera. First, there is the shadow adjustment, where you can brighten a backlit subject. Next, there is the red eye fix, where you can fix red eye in images of people where the flash is used. The crop option will allow you to crop your image, and the aspect option will allow you to change the aspect ratio. You can also convert the image to black and white or sepia, adjust the saturation, reduce the image pixel size, and apply an e-portrait effect to make skin look smooth. The next option in the quick access menu is Protect, where you can protect images from accidentally being erased. To protect an image, select Protect, indicated by a small key icon. Press the top or bottom arrow button to protect the image. When the image is protected, a small green key icon will appear. Press OK to confirm and exit image protection. The next option is the audio recording option, where you can add an audio recording to a photo. The next option, Rotate, allows you to rotate an image. To do this, select Rotate and use the top or bottom arrow buttons to rotate the image. Press OK to confirm and resume normal image playback. The next option allows you to create a slideshow of the images and movies on the memory card. The print order option will allow you to select which photos you'd like to have printed when the camera is connected to a compatible printer. When enabled, you can use the Send a Picture option to upload pictures to and receive pictures from compatible Bluetooth devices or other cameras with the Olympus Pen Pal feature. The final item in this menu is Erase. You can also protect or erase several images at once. To do this, make sure that you're in playback mode and scroll to an image that you'd like to select for protection or deletion. Simply press the Movie Record button to select it. A small red check mark will appear at the top right corner of the screen. Continue scrolling through the images and press the Movie Record button to select all that you'd like to select. Now press the OK button and select either the key icon to protect the image or choose Erase Selected and press OK to confirm. The PM1 has different playback screens that will each display different information about the image. Pressing the playback button will take you to the default simplified playback, where you can see the date the picture was taken, the time the picture was taken, the aspect ratio, the image record mode, the file number, and the frame number. Pressing the info button will bring up the overall display. Here you'll see the same information that was in the previous display. In addition to that information, you can see the shooting mode, shutter speed, aperture, metering mode, exposure compensation, focal length, white balance compensation, ISO, color space, picture mode, pixel count, and compression rate. Below the image on the left side of the screen, you'll see the histograms. There is one for the whole image, as well as histograms for each of the red, green, and blue color channels. The histogram gives a basic idea of the tone distribution of an image. If the histogram is shifted to the left of the graph, the image will probably be dark or underexposed. If the histogram is shifted to the right side of the graph, the image will be too bright or overexposed. In most cases, a properly exposed photo will have data distributed over the whole graph. The final playback screen can be shown by pressing the info button again. This view is simply a full screen image. One of the most important principles for taking a great picture is image sharpness. Image sharpness is affected by several things, including lens focus, camera shake, depth of field, and digital noise. Let's first discuss the focus modes that are available on the EPM1. When you're choosing the focus mode, the main thing you'll want to think about is whether or not the subject is in motion. In the advanced shooting modes, you can access your camera's AF shooting modes. Press the OK button to access the live control and scroll to the autofocus mode options. Here you can use the sides of the control button to choose from single AF, continuous AF, manual focus, single AF plus manual focus, and continuous AF tracking. With all of the autofocus modes, you can focus by pressing the shutter halfway down. When focus is achieved, the AF target, which achieved focus, will flash in green, and the focus indicator will appear at the top right corner of the LCD monitor. The first focus mode is SAF, or single AF, and is best suited for stationary subjects. Choose this mode when you're photographing objects or when you're doing portrait work with an older child or adult. The CAF, or continuous AF mode, is best for shooting moving subjects and is for use when the focusing distance keeps changing. Use this mode when you're photographing sporting events, small children, or animals. When you hold the shutter button halfway, the subject will be focused continuously. In the manual focus mode, you can focus manually using the focus ring on the lens. With the single AF plus manual focus mode, you can press the shutter halfway down to focus and then use the focus ring to fine-tune manually. This is good for times when you're photographing small subjects with great detail. The last focus mode is continuous AF plus tracking. With this mode, the camera will track and maintain focus on a moving subject while the shutter is held down. This focus mode is great for fast action scenarios. In addition to the focus modes, you'll want to be familiar with your camera's autofocus target options. To access the AF target options, press the left arrow button. By default, the camera is set to use all targets, meaning that the camera will automatically select the focus target from the full set of targets. You can switch to single target by simply pressing the top, bottom, and sides of the arrow pad. You can also choose a group target option where the camera will automatically choose an AF target from one of the targets in the selected group. To activate the group target AF setting, press the left arrow button to bring up the AF target options. Then press the info button to access the AF target settings. Press the down arrow button to select the group AF option and press OK. Now you can use the top, bottom, and sides of the arrow pad to choose which group target you'd like. In addition to the focus modes and area settings on the camera, there are a few other things to consider for sharp images. One of the most common causes of unwanted blur in images is camera shake. This happens when the camera uses slow shutter speeds and moves while the shutter is open, exposing the image sensor. Always try to steady the camera by holding it with two hands. You can also lean against something or use a tripod, a monopod, or even a beanbag to steady the camera. You can also reduce the effect of camera shake by selecting a fast shutter speed. This reduces the amount of time the image sensor is exposed to shaky conditions. A helpful rule of thumb is to set your shutter speed to 1 over the focal length. Confusing? Let me explain. If the focal length of your lens is 300 millimeters, for example, you should set your shutter speed to at least 1/300th of a second. If the focal length is 30 millimeters, you might get by using a shutter speed as low as 1/30th of a second. Another cause of poor focus is digital grain, which is sometimes called noise. You can avoid noise by not enlarging an image too much. If you know that you must enlarge an image, select as large a file format as possible. You can also reduce noise by photographing subjects that have good contrast. Finally, to reduce digital noise in your images, you can let your camera cool off for a moment before shooting after heavy use. An overheated image sensor will add noise to your pictures. Let's take a look at the PM1's sophisticated menu system. Depending on what shooting mode you're using, different menu items will appear. For our purposes in this guide, we will be showing the menu options that are available in the camera's default settings. Many of these settings are discussed in greater detail in other chapters of the guide. To access the menu system, simply press the menu button. In the top menu, there are 6 different options, including Art Filter, Eye Auto Mode, Scene Modes, Movie Mode, Advanced Shooting, and Setup. Let's take a moment to discuss the items in the Setup menu. In the first shooting menu, indicated by the small camera icon with a number 1, the first menu item is Card Setup. This is where you can format the memory card or simply erase all the images from the memory card. The Reset My Set option will allow you to reset the camera to factory default, as well as save the current camera settings for future picture taking. You can save up to 4 different combinations of settings. The next menu item, Picture Mode, will allow you to select a mode with preset contrast, sharpness, saturation, gradation, and other parameters. The next menu item, Image Quality, will allow you to select both the still picture image quality as well as the movie image quality. The Image Aspect menu item is where you can choose the aspect ratio for your photos. You can choose from 4:3, 16:9, 3:2, 6:6, and 3:4. If you're planning on making 4:6 prints of your photos, you'll want to select the 3:2 option. The second shooting menu begins with the self-timer sequential shooting options. Here you can choose from single, continuous high and low speed, and the 12-second and 2-second self-timers. The next menu item, Image Stabilizer, allows you to choose from 4 different options for image stabilization in camera. The IS1 option is the automatic option. The IS2 option will apply image stabilization only when the camera is being panned horizontally. The IS3 option will apply image stabilization only when the camera is panned horizontally and is held in the portrait orientation. The bracketing menu item allows you to set up the bracketing parameters for exposure, white balance, flash, ISO, and art filters. With the multiple exposure menu item, you can set up the camera to take multiple exposure images. The flash compensation menu item allows you to adjust the level of compensation for overall brightness when the attached flash is used. With the RC mode, you can use compatible external flash units that offer a remote control mode for wireless flash photography. With the digital teleconverter option, you can zoom in beyond what the lens is capable of. Using this option, the zoom in is increased 2 times. The playback menu begins with the slideshow option, where you can set up the camera to play a slideshow of the images and movies on the memory card. The Edit menu item allows you to make a variety of adjustments to images directly in camera. The Print Order Settings option allows you to choose which images to print when the camera is connected directly to a compatible printer. And the Reset Protect menu item will allow you to unprotect all protected images on the memory card. The Setup menu begins with the Date/Time setting. Here, you can use the top and bottom arrow buttons to select the year. Press the right arrow button to select the month, and then do the same for the day, the hour, and the minute. Finally, you can choose the format that you'd like the date to be displayed in. Press OK to confirm the settings. The Language menu item allows you to select the language for menus and displays. The Monitor Brightness Adjustment menu item allows you to change the brightness and color temperature of the LCD monitor. The Record View option is where you can choose how long to have images displayed on the LCD monitor immediately after they're taken. The Menu Display option allows you to choose whether or not to display the custom menus or the accessory port menu. The Firmware menu item displays the version of firmware that is installed. Your PM1 has many great features to help you capture images and movies with great tone, color, and creativity. Let's talk about some of these features now. First, let's discuss the camera's tone control setting. In certain shooting scenarios, you may find that the highlights in your images are too bright, or that the shadow areas are too dark, even when the overall photo has good exposure. With the PM1's tone control, you can adjust the brightness of the shadow or highlight areas without changing the overall exposure settings. To access the tone control feature, make sure that the camera is set to one of the Art Filter shooting modes or one of the Advanced shooting modes. We'll select Aperture Priority. Press the Exposure Compensation button, the top arrow button, to activate the exposure compensation. Now press the Info button to activate the tone control dialog. Here you can press the left arrow button to darken the shadows or the right arrow button to lighten the shadows. To adjust the highlight areas of the image, press the Info button again. Just as with the shadow adjustment, you can use the left arrow to darken the highlights and the right arrow button to brighten the highlights. Now let's discuss white balance. It's important to understand that the quality of your pictures is affected by the color of the surrounding light and how the camera's electronics process that light. Compensating for varying light conditions is referred to as setting the white balance. Most light looks white to an untrained eye, but it can be composed of a range of different colors. The color of sunlight is different in daylight, in the shade, or in cloudy conditions. Daylight, for example, is fairly blue and fluorescent light is fairly green. If your camera is set to shoot in daylight, but you're shooting in a setting with fluorescent light, your image will look overly red. Proper camera white balance takes into account the color temperature of a light source, which refers to the relative warmth or coolness of white light. Human eyes are very good at judging what is white under different light sources. However, digital cameras often have great difficulty determining auto white balance. Incorrect white balance can create unattractive blue, orange, or even green colors in your pictures. The white balance scale is expressed in measurements of Kelvin. The higher color temperatures, measured in the area of 5600 Kelvin to 7500 Kelvin, represent situations like a sunlit or cloudy day. These shooting situations have a greater amount of blue tones and a lesser amount of red tones. Lower color temperature situations are measured in the area of 3200 Kelvin down to 1900 Kelvin and are found in lighting situations like standard lighting from a tungsten light bulb or a candle light. These types of shooting situations are found on the lower end of the spectrum and produce greater amounts of red tones and lesser amounts of blue tones. Once you get acquainted with the camera's preset white balance settings, you can try setting your own by using the camera's custom white balance feature. To use this tool effectively, you'll want to become familiar with the color temperature that is most effective for your shooting situation. Again, most light looks white to an untrained eye. Setting your white balance will help your pictures have the proper coloring. If natural-looking colors cannot be obtained with auto white balance, you can set the white balance manually to suit the respective light source. In the automatic modes, the white balance will be set automatically. To access the white balance settings, first make sure that the camera is set to one of the advanced shooting modes, and press the OK button to display the live control. Here, scroll to the white balance setting and use the left or right arrow buttons to make your selection. Press the OK button to confirm the selection and resume normal picture taking. The first white balance setting is auto white balance. With this setting, your camera will attempt to automatically assess the color tone in a scene and make the necessary adjustments automatically. The next white balance setting is sunny. Sunny is a great setting for taking pictures in the sunlight. This setting is marked with a sun icon. Use the shade setting when you're taking pictures in the shade. It reduces the bluish tones in a picture. This setting is marked by an icon of a house with shade. Use the cloudy setting when taking pictures on days that are overcast. This is marked with a cloud icon. The incandescent setting is used when taking pictures under common light bulbs. It reduces the reddish tones in the picture. This setting is marked with a light bulb icon. The fluorescent light settings can be used when shooting under standard fluorescent lighting. The underwater setting is great for underwater photography. The next setting is the flash setting. Use this setting when using the attachable flash or external flash unit. The next two icons are the one-touch white balance options. Select one of these options when you want to use your own custom white balance settings specific to the lighting conditions you're shooting in. This is done by taking a picture of a white card or object, then selecting the image for the camera's electronics to reference. An 18% gray card, which can be purchased from your local camera store, will give you the most accurate results. You can also use a white card, an object like a shirt or a piece of paper to achieve similar results. Setting a one-touch white balance on the PM1 is easy. Simply select one of the one-touch white balance settings and press the Info button. Now fill the frame with the white or gray object and press the shutter button completely. Select Yes and press OK. Now images taken with the current lighting will have the specific one-touch white balance setting applied. The last white balance setting is Custom White Balance. With this setting, you can choose the specific color temperature of the light that you're shooting under. In addition to the white balance, there are other features on the PM1 that will allow you to control the color in your photos. Let's talk about the camera's picture modes now. Picture modes are an intuitive way for you to tell the camera what levels of contrast, sharpness, and other parameters you'd like for your specific shooting scenario. The camera has 6 different preset picture modes, as well as one custom picture mode. All of the picture modes are adjustable and customizable. To access the picture modes, press the OK button to display the live control, and navigate to the picture mode option. Here you can use the left and right arrow buttons to make your selection. First, there is the Eye Enhance picture mode. This is a great general use picture style. The camera will automatically adjust color tone to fit the scene that you're photographing with impressive results. Images taken with this creative style will appear sharp, vivid, and crisp. The Vivid picture mode is great for images with primary colors that you'd like emphasized. The Natural picture mode will capture images with natural colors, sharpness, and saturation. The Muted picture mode produces flat tones. This is a good mode to choose if you're planning on extensively editing your photos on your computer. The Portrait picture mode is great for photographing people and faces. It offers beautiful skin tones. The Monotone picture mode will capture images with smooth black and white gradation. Images taken in this setting cannot be converted to color later. With the Custom Picture mode, you can select one of the 6 preset modes and customize it to your liking. Also note that each of the 6 preset modes are customizable in the same way. Let's create and register a Custom Picture mode now. First, press the Menu button and select the Setup menu. In the first shooting menu, select Picture Mode. Here, select Custom. Press the right arrow button to select the picture mode you'd like to customize. Make your selection and press OK. Now, select Contrast and press the right arrow button to view the contrast settings. Make adjustments and press OK. Do the same for sharpness, saturation, and gradation. When you're finished making adjustments, simply press OK to save changes. In addition to picture modes, your PM1 also has art filters, which are a great way to add creativity to your images. Let's take a look at each of the art filters now. To access the art filters, press the menu button and select the Art Filter option. Here you can choose from 6 different art filter options. First, there is Pop Art, which will create a vivid look with emphasized colors. Next, there is Soft Focus, which will give your photo the look of soft lighting. The Grainy Film art filter will mimic the look of old film with high contrast black and white tones. The Pinhole filter will give the images shaded corners and pronounced colors. Next, there is Diorama, which will emphasize the subject and blur the other areas of the image. The Dramatic Tone filter will capture images that mimic the look of HDR images with dramatic contrast and color. Your PM1 has a powerful attachable flash that can provide you with extra light in certain shooting scenarios. The effective range of the flash will vary depending on the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. As a general rule, you'll want to keep your subject within about 3.5 to 20 feet for best results. To attach the flash to the camera, first make sure that the camera is turned off. Next, remove the hot shoe cover from the hot shoe. Then, while holding down the unlock button, remove the cover from the flash like this. Now simply slide the flash onto the hot shoe until it clicks into place. The flash can be raised or lowered. To remove the flash from the camera, press and hold the unlock button and gently remove the flash from the camera. You'll want to be sure to replace the hot shoe cover on the camera and the cover on the flash when you're finished. When the flash is raised, it will fire automatically in low light conditions in the camera's easy shooting modes. It will also fire automatically in the advanced shooting modes depending on the flash mode that is currently selected. Let's take a look at the flash modes that are available now. To access the flash modes, make sure that the camera is set to one of the advanced shooting modes and press the OK button to display the live control. Scroll to the flash mode option and use the sides of the arrow pad to make your selection. The PM1 has a variety of flash modes to fit almost any shooting scenario. First, there is the auto flash mode. In this mode, the flash will fire automatically in low light or backlight conditions. Next, there is the fill-in flash mode. In this mode, the flash will fire every time a picture is taken, regardless of the lighting conditions. In flash off mode, the flash will not fire, regardless of the lighting conditions. Use this mode at times when flash photography is prohibited or inappropriate. The next flash mode is red-eye reduction. This mode is good to use when you're photographing people or pets. In this mode, a tiny pre-flash will fire, which causes the size of the person's pupils to shrink, lessening the effect of red eye in the photo. The next flash mode is slow sync mode. This flash mode is a good mode to use when you're photographing a subject at night and you'd like to have the background and the subject properly exposed. The slow sync red eye reduction mode is great for photographing people at night with a reduced appearance of red eyes. In the slow sync second curtain mode, the flash fires just before the shutter closes, which will create a stream of light behind light sources. The subject will be properly exposed. There are also manual flash settings ranging from full to 1/64th power for times when you'd like to control the output of the flash manually. There may be times when you'd like to adjust the flash output if the subject is over or underexposed. To do this, you can use the flash intensity control setting. To adjust the flash intensity control, make sure that the camera is set to one of the advanced shooting modes and press the OK button to display the live control. Now scroll to the flash intensity control setting. You can use the sides of the arrow pad to make adjustments. If the indicator is placed toward the minus side of the scale, the flash will output less light and the image will be darker. If the indicator is placed toward the plus side of the scale, the flash will output more light and the image will be brighter. Now simply take the picture. To review, let's go through some examples of these situations to manually apply the principles learned in this guide. First, let's approach a portrait situation. It's always smart to first preset the white balance to match the current lighting. Use the preset or one-touch white balance. To make the subject the focal point, position the subject in the frame in a way that will draw more attention to the subject. You can achieve this by using the rule of thirds. Make sure that the focus point is correct. Another great way to give focus to the subject is by blurring the background. This effect is achieved by opening the aperture. Remember, the smaller the f-number, the larger the aperture opening. After the aperture is set, adjust the shutter speed to achieve a proper exposure. By opening the aperture more, you create a shallow depth of field. This will allow your focus point to be in sharp focus while the background will have a soft focus. The next common situation is a landscape. You will usually want the whole landscape to be in sharp focus. To achieve this, the aperture will need to be set for a very narrow opening. Remember, the larger the f-number, the smaller the depth of field. A small opening creates a very long depth of field. This mode will give you a sharp focus in both the foreground and the background. Then adjust the shutter speed to achieve a proper exposure. In this setting, the shutter speed can get pretty slow, so be sure to steady your camera or use a tripod to avoid camera shake. When taking pictures at sporting events or shooting subjects with a lot of motion, it's a good idea to prepare your camera before the action begins. Here are some tips to help you prepare. First, preset your white balance. Next, set the focus mode to continuous so that the camera will be constantly focusing on the moving subject. Now, set your camera's release mode to sequential, so when the action happens, you only need to hold the button down. Now position yourself to have the best angle for the action. If you want your subject to be in sharp focus, turn your ISO up around 400 to 1600. Next, adjust your shutter speed to 1/500th of a second or faster. Then adjust your aperture for a proper exposure. Take a couple of practice shots to fine-tune. Now you're ready for action. If you want to show a little blur to add aesthetic effect, slightly slow the shutter speed. We hope you've enjoyed learning more about your Olympus PM1. We know this new information will give you enough confidence and know-how to take your photography skills to new levels. Remember, you can refer back to any section of this guide at any time. Just select the topics you want to review from the main menu or table of contents. Watch for more Quickpro guides on using newly released cameras. Thanks for watching.